Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. So we want to thank you back for coming back for another week, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. I didn't get this information, or I didn't wasn't a victim of this, but there was an Apple Card outage. For those who are listening to the show now, it happened earlier today. For those of you who are not Patreon supporters, you'll get this on Friday. By then, this will all be gone. But at the time of this recording, there was a Apple Card outage that may affect your ability to make payments, manage your card, and see recent transactions. According to Apple's status page, the interruption in service appears to have started from 6 o'clock and kind of went all the way for the whole entire day till around 4:30, 5 o'clock, when Apple put that their outage was over. So it's just interesting that, this popular digital only, there's no physical bank, there's no website. It's all built into your wallet via your phone, via your iPad, or via your Apple Watch, to where you do all of these, making these transactions, or actually, managing your account. So it was pretty interesting to see that that is actually happening. Of course, like I mentioned, I don't think I was doing it. Yeah, I wasn't doing anything today to where I used my Apple Card, but there were some people who couldn't make payments. I didn't hear about anybody that couldn't do any transactions, but some of these stories that I read, to where people were, for instance, somebody was able to pay off a portion of their bill and see the transaction showed up in the wallet app during the outage. But, according to, Apple, or according to the actual people who reported these issues, it varied. It wasn't a complete outage. You could do some things, but you couldn't do other things. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
report that.
I didn't notice anything either, and I guess I probably wouldn't. I mainly use my Apple Card for like recurring payments because, I really don't use the card unless I'm buying something from Apple to get the biggest thing. So that's the way to kind of keep it going, keep, some action on the card, and then just pay it off. But I didn't, get any indication that anything didn't go through, or I didn't notice it. So.
Yeah, me neither. So I guess that's a good thing. But according to Apple, like I mentioned, the outage is already over. But if you did experience, anybody out there who did experience the Apple outage, couldn't make a payment, couldn't see their transactions, things like that, let us know. Drop a line. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is iOS 14.6 is causing excessive battery drain. So multiple iOS 14.6 users are complaining of excessive battery drain. Users on Reddit, Twitter, and Apple support forums say their batteries are draining at an alarming rate. Users are also reporting overheating and problems with excessive power usage while it's idle. So even if you're not doing anything, nothing's running in the background, there's still a lot of battery drain. Again, this is another one I haven't witnessed.
Me either. I was like, I haven't seen anything.
Maybe, sometimes,
Squeaky wheel gets the oil.
right. Many people, and we'll get into this later into For the Culture, you know, a couple of instances turns into everybody, right?
When it's maybe five people.
Right.
But those five people are very loud.
Right. And very noticeable, right? So, anything, and it's Apple, right? So anything that happens to Apple, the big
Even if you
dog,
don't
right?
have an iPhone or even have this iOS, if you see somebody kind of, downing Apple, the non-Apple folks or people who ate Apple, they just jump on and just like
Right,
get
right.
those Twitter fingers going.
Right. So as a result, that kind of kicked up some dust to where people, who, how many? Two, could be 200, could be 2,000. But I personally haven't experienced this, and I can't think of anybody in my family that has experienced it. But since it's out there on the internet, and there are some people who are reporting battery drain in iOS 14.6, I guess there is some credence to that. So we just make sure we put it out there to where if you are one of those people who are experiencing some sort of weird battery problems, iOS 14.6 may be the cause of it. I don't know. Let me go back and actually look in the story. I don't see anything about Apple actually acknowledging there's an issue.
I didn't see anything in the article to that effect. So
Right. I don't see if there will be any sort of future updates, iOS 14.6 dot whatever, or maybe 14.7, because of course, in order to put in a fix, Apple has to at least acknowledge there's an issue, and I don't see anything to where they've acknowledged it. So right now, it's just some people on Reddit.
oh, Reddit. Oh, Reddit.
Right. All right. So yeah, the next story I want to get into, we kind of talked about this when AirTag was announced. You know, one of the things that I put in a story that I write about the things you need to know about AirTags. My understanding of AirTags was you can use it to find things that are lost. So if you're in your house and you've got AirTags in your purse or in your wallet or in a backpack, it's lost. You can use the Find My app, locate your, click on the actual AirTag where they're connected to keys, whatever, and it'll help you find that lost item. Same thing for like on a grander scale for like luggage. Mm-hmm. If your luggage is lost in an airport, or the airline says it's in Florida when it actually is in South Carolina, you can probably open up the Find My app and kind of visually kind of see where your luggage is if it's lost. The problem with AirTag, not necessarily a problem, what people want to do with AirTags
not what they're meant for.
Right, is track people, number one, which that's not what it's intended use for, and to find stolen items, which any thief worth their salt, they're going to remove the AirTag because it's not soldered, it's not installed, it's not physically welded to your keys or your luggage or your backpack or your wallet. All they have to do is remove that AirTag, toss it somewhere, and now you can't find your thing. So of course, you know, but that doesn't stop the internet to do its thing. So I found a story and I thought it was funny about, and they, you know, people wrote about it because of course it's Apple and it's AirTag. It's the new thing. So they want to poke holes. Someone used an AirTag to track their stolen wallet. But of course, you know, once the person who found their wallet found the AirTag, discarded the AirTag. So the story that I'm reading from iMore goes on to talk about this guy who decided to take his wallet into the gym.
It's Gucci wallet, so they probably stole it because it was Gucci.
Right. Gucci wallet, according to him, is worth $100. Oh, I'm sorry. He had a Gucci wallet and like $100 in cash and a couple of credit cards. Went against his better judgment and took his wallet with the AirTag in it into the gym. Of course, somebody rifled through his stuff in the locker, which sounds like he didn't even have a lock on, which mistake number one, you took your wallet into the gym. Mistake number two, you didn't lock it up. Somebody took his wallet. He was able to use the Find My app because at the time he started to track it, he could actually see it moving. So this is in New York. So him and his friend got in their car, opened up the Find My app, and was able to watch the AirTag as it went to different train stations. You know, once they got close to it, you know, come to find out the AirTag, no wallet, no money, was left in the middle of the train tracks. So clearly the person who found his wallet found the AirTag and said, oh yeah, we're not going to use this. Tossed it somewhere and tossed it. So of course they were not able to recover their stolen items. So again, you know, of course you will not be able to use your AirTag. As this guy found out, you won't be able to use it to find stolen items because, again, like I mentioned at the top, any thief worth his salt is going to disable, turn off, or get rid of any sort of GPS tracking, anything that isn't natively built into your items that you want to keep up with. So I just thought that was interesting that people actually thought that they could do that. May have worked, may have not, but that's
It
not
may
what it's
work
for.
like in a car because it'll take a bit of time to try and find something that's small in a car,
Mm-hmm.
but something like on your person that they can easily see. Yeah, because everybody knows what air tags are now. My
Right.
thing is now, are people going to start creating, wallets or things where you can conceal
Right.
the air tag in it so you wouldn't know
Right.
unless you really kind of took the wallet apart?
Right. Right. Take the undo the seams and
Hmm.
undo the stitching and things like that.
Yeah.
It seems like a good market because people are trying to use their air tags unintentional for what it's used for. So,
Hmm.
all right. So, yeah, my last story in the lowdown is Apple plans to open even more physical stores, which on a normal day, in a normal case, no big deal. Apple likes to open up these fancy, schmancy, beautiful stores with this perfect layout and the perfect displays for all of their Macs and iPhones, Apple Watches, so on and so
It's a
forth.
sight to see.
Right. But it's surprising that the fact that post pandemic, when we as a society have kind of shifted our shopping experience online. So it is kind of curious or interesting to see that Apple has confirmed it has plans to open more retail stores despite a shift to online sales during the pandemic. Senior Vice President of Retail and People, Deirdre O'Brien, said Apple tends to add more stores to its lineup. According to Deirdre, that's because of the unique experience of seeing products in the flesh. They didn't have any specifics on any new places or new retail locations right now, but the post pandemic, everybody's shift to shopping online apparently is not going to stop Apple from actually opening up their flagship stores. So I guess my question to you is, do you see yourself post pandemic venturing into an Apple store as frequently as you did in the past, or is that ship sail for you?
It's pretty much sailed, I think, for me. I think what Apple is the wave they're trying to get on is they see that people are rushing to get back outside and in a rush to get outside. They've seen it with the airlines, they've seen it
Right.
with sporting events. I think this is just the initial runoff from people being cooped up for 18 months. And once the, I don't want to say novelty, but novelty of being outside again wears off, I think people are going to stick with their online shopping because, again, we've been doing it for, 18 months going on 2 years.
Right.
So it's just easier for people to order stuff and then have it shipped to the house. You don't have to deal with getting in the car, driving somewhere, walking around, parking, dealing with people, unless you're just that type of person and want to get out. But I think for a lot of people, it's just like, nah, maybe the initial, because I've been cooped up, might be a good idea. But then once you get back out there and see that people ain't got no home training,
Oh
they're
yeah.
punching flight attendants, they are throwing water bottles
At
at
sporting
professional
events, people are
players.
getting popcorn dumped on them, water thrown at them. Somebody got spit on, I think. Trey
Trey
Young
from
from
Atlanta.
Atlanta Hawks. So clearly people have this itching to get out. So maybe this press release is Apple's way of letting people know that, hey, we're still in the mix out here. We're still going to do things. Surprisingly, to counter this in a personal experience, my last iPhone, I actually picked it up in the store because trying to get a first day iPhone is starting to become a little, not a little, more difficult because everybody is starting to order all of the iPhones and the hot products,
Hmm.
specifically an iPhone. They're starting to order those more so online, to where before it was everybody waited in line. That was the Apple experience. iPhone launch day, everybody stood outside. They camped kind of like sneakers. You camp
Hmm.
out, the news is out, they report all the people in line, and that's how you got your day one iPhone. Well, now everything is starting to shift to online, to where now for the past couple of iPhone releases, I've been up at 3 o'clock in the morning refreshing my MacBook screen to get a new iPhone. And then, if you're not within the first 10-20 minutes to a half hour of getting your iPhone status purchased and confirmed, the ship date starts to push back and back and back. So for instance, if this iPhone, what are we on? iPhone 13 is coming out in September. They announce it. Oh, it's great. Everybody wants it. It's available for pre-order, 2-3 weeks later. So we're into early September. If you are not one of the first people to get your iPhone confirmed and purchased, it's pushing back to late October. And then holidays, November holidays. So, all that to say, all around the world to say, I think if you're smart or if you're savvy or you're looking to get around this whole, you don't feel like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, based on how Apple announces and releases things, it may fare better for you if you actually go to an Apple store on the first day to pick up an iPhone, because everybody's starting to shift online. So I just thought that was interesting, and that may be a good tidbit of, that may be one of my hookups for October. Go stand in line in Apple. You may be able to walk in and walk out within 20 minutes versus, like I said, if you're on the East Coast, waiting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to refresh iPad and iPhone and MacBook screen, trying to get you
trying to get a phone.
Right, trying to get a phone before they push the ship date back to we don't know.
Question mark.
Right. All right, so that's it for the lowdown. Let's move into second string, where we talk all things tech. I've been on a cryptocurrency, not binge, but starting to get more into cryptocurrency. It looks like Dogecoin value shortly shot up because Coinbase, one of the more popular cryptocurrency wallets, Coinbase recently IPO'd. It's on the stock market. One of the more popular ways to buy, sell, trade, and actually use cryptocurrency, has announced that people who currently have Dogecoin, maybe you purchased it in another wallet someplace else, you can actually migrate or transfer your Dogecoin purchases into Coinbase Pro. You got to have the Pro app, not just a regular Coinbase. But if you do have the Coinbase Pro app, you can, as of this recording, whenever you hear this, you can actually start to import or whatever the technical term is for it. You can actually start to bring your purchases, transfer them into Coinbase. No word on if you can purchase Dogecoin yet. I think maybe last week or week before, there was a story out that Coinbase will allow you to buy Dogecoin in, a couple weeks. So this is kind of like the initial stages of, Coinbase bringing fully supporting Dogecoin, and as an extension of that, Dogecoin starting to get some sort of real value, because according to everybody, Dogecoin started off as a joke. It's a meme joke. There's really no use for it. It's whack. It's stupid. Don't use it. Don't pay attention to it. But now that Coinbase is paying attention, maybe you should pay attention to it. So, maybe. Right. So, get you some stats here. Dogecoin actually rose 31% on Wednesday to 0.41 cent in the wake of the Coinbase news that pushed cryptocurrency's market capitalization to $54 billion, making it the sixth largest token according to data market tracker CoinGecko.com. So all that to say, like I said, the fact that Dogecoin market capitalization of $54 billion is the sixth largest token, and there are hundreds of cryptocurrency tokens out there. Maybe Dogecoin, maybe you need to pay attention to it,
Maybe.
I've got a couple.
It was a joke, so
right.
But now if it has market value at $54 billion, that's pretty serious. That's not play anymore.
Yeah, we'll see. If I put on my Negro Damas hat here, I think Coinbase will be the new gold. Instead of you putting your money in cash, instead of leaving your money in cash.
When everybody was trying to get it out and buy gold, get their
Right.
money out and buy.
Right.
I see it.
Yeah. Instead of you, we won't be paying for car washes and haircuts and movie tickets with cryptocurrency. But we may be doing is, instead of putting my money in gold, instead of taking it out of the bank, or leaving it in cash, I may hold my liquid assets in cryptocurrency. And then when I want to take it out, I transfer it into dollars, and then I go spend the money how I want to. But if I've got a large amount of wealth, you diversify your portfolio. You got some in stocks, traditional stocks. You got some in real estate. You got some in the bank. And then you got some in cryptocurrency. So that's your diversification, right? So that's how I see it. Who knows? Maybe we will buy a hot dog or cryptocurrency, but I don't think so.
But whatever happened to all the gold hoarding people?
The,
That kind of just, it was hot and heavy. Everybody was talking about it, and now it's just like,
with
gold
the,
what?
right. Well, that'll still. I'm not saying gold will go away.
Oh, no,
That'll still be a thing. But I think these new cats, the millennials, the
And
new
the
age folks,
and
yeah,
the Zers.
yeah, they're gonna put them. They're gonna hide their not hide. They're gonna place their money, their wealth, as far as cash, liquid, into gold. I mean, I'm sorry, into crypto, instead of like our parents and our grandparents was trying to put money in gold. All right. So the next story, grand opening, grand closing.
I took a lot of this.
Donald Trump's blog has shut down less than a month after the launch. So I think, last month he started this blog. I think the title of it was From the Desk of Donald J. Trump or something like that. And this was supposed to, this was supposed to be his mouthpiece, because
His Twitter alternative.
right, Twitter and Facebook, which to Donald Trump's credit, most of his popularity, what he needed to say, the messages he needed to get out, he was very good at doing that via social media until they cut him off, right? Twitter and Facebook finally said, look, enough of this. We're going to close this stuff either temporarily or indefinitely. So this blog was supposed to be Donald Trump's way to get his word out to his people. Looks like that's not going to happen. They've decided to shut it down a month after its launch. A couple of reasons why is because it's not the same as social media. People are on.
Nobody's refreshing a website like that.
Nobody's blogging anymore. Back in 2008, 2000, that was the thing.
That was it.
You had to have a blog to be
anybody
anywhere. So now, like, blogs are like, that's 5 years too old now for him to be behind the game and starting a blog. I don't think that was ever going to work. According to the story that I'm reading, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump has engaged in talks with platforms like CloudHub and FreeSpace, never heard of them, to become his new favorite messaging platform. Journal said that Trump isn't looking for equity in the new company, but what could be a licensing fee if he decides to join. So basically,
so he wants them to pay him to be on their platform.
Exactly.
Get out of here. But I read somewhere that they said that the real reason he shut it down is because he found out he was only getting like 15,000 impressions.
Right. So they were like, we need to figure out either A, how can I milk it? Well, A, B, C, and D. How do I milk this for some money?
For money.
Right.
Because they're grifters. All they care about is the cash.
Exactly. So, Donald J. Trump bringing, quote unquote, his masses to these new, maybe not really heard of forums or whatever these things are.
He's not even Twitter. They've already pretty much, abandoned Parler.
Yeah.
So, what happened to him starting his own media, super social media, TV, radio empire?
Right. So if this is any indication of that, then he's got some tough sailing, because again, like you mentioned, the benefit to him for Twitter and Facebook is because people are there. And this is also an indication of
his waning popularity.
Well, not just that, just people. A lot of people believe that if I have a following, if I have a user base, if I have fans, they will follow me wherever I go. Maybe Donald Trump is a terrible example, but there could be something said to the power of Twitter and Facebook, because Facebook has however many billion people. Twitter, is just so fluid and so easy to use and so quick to get the message out. That's where a lot of news is broke. So that is going to be hard for
To
any,
recreate.
right, for any social media platform, any entertainment platform, any sort of anything coming after Twitter and Facebook. It's going to be tough for them. It's going to be tough for major heavy influencers to pull their users off of these platforms and onto something else. So,
I don't think there's probably any single person that can have enough traffic to drive an entire social media platform.
right.
As popular as Beyonce is, as popular as the Beehive is, as popular as Nicki Minaj's, her people are,
Lizzo and
all, I don't think
yeah,
there's any one person that can sustain and drive the type of engagement that these social media sites do, because half of the engagement comes from people countering you. So if only his fans go to this platform, who are
right,
they going to argue with? They can't
right,
argue with each other. It's just
right.
going to be all, rose
A
petals and,
vacuum, right,
cupcakes,
right.
because they're all on the same page. They need that
People to see what they're
negativity
talking
or
about. They,
people who oppose them to
right,
be able to go back and forth. And they just aren't going to get that with just people agreeing with them. So I think that's why this doesn't work.
right,
They
right,
need people to fight with and
right,
be opposed to, especially these maggots.
right,
So
right. That makes sense too. So, looks like Trump's having a tough time getting his message out there because, like I said, people's like, yeah, but I like Twitter though.
right. And I think he's trying to help his engagement by telling his followers that he expects to be reinstated as president in August.
Oh wow! So that's the glue to try to get people to entice people to listen to him for a little while longer.
Right.
Right.
So, and some people are saying it's just another like call similar to the insurrection on 1/6, is that he's trying to recreate that again to get his name. Because ain't nobody talking about him.
Right.
Nobody, we got enough going on and enough moving forward with the way the economy's going, jobs, and all this other stuff that nobody's talking about him. Nobody's thinking about him. And this is his way, I think, of him insinuating himself back into the mix, because he's realized you're bad. You're not good,
Right.
especially when they pulled you off of all these sites that you inflamed.
Right.
Now you're just some old guy,
Right.
who was really horrible, who is really horrible, living in Florida somewhere that nobody even cares about. Nobody cares about your kids anymore. Nobody cares about your surrogates anymore, because most of them are getting ready to go to jail,
Right.
with you coming, shortly behind. Because I think one of the sons went on Fox and they were complaining about all the subpoenas they were getting. Well, when you do things,
Yeah.
that's stupid, you win those types of prizes.
Yeah. The chickens are definitely coming home to roost,
Definitely.
and
Trying to figure
this
a way out of it, and you
right.
can't.
And his popularity, according to the internet, it looks like, according to this failed attempt at a blog, looks like that's starting to wane as well.
Exactly.
All right, so that's it for second string. Let's move into for the culture, where we talk all things that's just happening in general on social media in general. So you are a traveler.
I am.
You have made multiple references, and since we've been running this podcast, that the way you travel is you look out for deals. If something pops up, you immediately jump on it. Not necessarily, you're not a planner as it relates to some of these trips. Something pops up, you book it, and within maybe a week or so, or maybe even a weekend, a couple days, you're gone, right?
Yep.
So that doesn't lead, it's just me making something up here. That doesn't necessarily lead to a lot of planning or prep time. So I guess my question to you is, do you put effort into how you look when you travel, because in your specific experience, you travel on some cases in such short notice.
I do. I like to travel casually cute.
Okay.
Um, I don't wear heels or anything like that because that's stupid.
Okay.
Because I'm usually, sometimes the one having to sprint down
Okay.
the
Catch a
um
connecting flight or you're just
Mhm.
late or something.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So, and I like to be comfortable too.
Okay.
And you can be casually cute. That's, kind of my thing, especially when traveling,
Okay.
because I want to be comfortable, but still cute at the same time.
Okay. So two things that you mentioned that kind of fit into this first story about the culture, for the culture. You said you like to be comfortable.
Hmm.
Two, you also said wearing heels is stupid, right?
For me.
For you, right? Okay, so let's do the second one. Let's do comfortable, right?
Okay.
Your idea of comfortable is, you said, what was it? Classy, cute. What was it? What was the term you used?
Casual.
Casual, casual, cute.
Yes.
So yeah, and you kind of briefly went over your idea of casual, cute, right?
Hmm.
For comfortability.
Hmm.
Do you see in your travels, do you see other people traveling? What is their in general, like a
Hmm.
big consensus? What do you see as a norm or regular when people travel? What kind of attire do they have on? What kind of things that you see, whether normal or just outlier, something real weird that you've seen? What's the weirdest thing that you've seen people travel in?
It runs the gamut. I've seen people, of course, men particularly in suits,
Okay.
um, full suited and booted. I've seen women in heels and full on designer outfits, all the way down to people in fluffy slippers and pajamas.
Okay. All right.
So everything from that, from the, I don't want to say to the low, but from extreme luxury down to nighttime comfort.
Okay. So, to the second thing about the about the people in heels being stupid, right? That was something that you just said, right?
Uh-huh.
But do you attribute that to who they are? Do you attribute that them deciding to dress however they want to dress? Do you attribute that to who they are or how they want to be treated when they travel? What's your opinion of them, people who you see that are dressed differently than how you move when you actually travel? What is your opinion of that person? Or what is your outtake of that person?
If I see them like fully dressed up.
Well, just dressed
Oh,
any
so
weird way, yeah.
for me, when I see people fully dressed up, I mean, it could be a bunch of things. I think a lot of times, s- specifically if it's someone black, it's related to how they want to be perceived by other people in the airport,
Okay.
whether it be the gate agents who check them in, whether it be the flight attendants, whether it be other people in the airport. They just want to stun a little bit because you can be fully, labeled down without heels. All of your high end designers have loafers, they have, kind of like casual wear. So you can be completely labeled down and not have on heels.
Oh,
So I think it has, to me, in my opinion, I think that it does have a lot to do with the way that people perceive them
okay.
who may not see them every day. Because if you think about it, you're in the airport, 9 times out of 10, you're never going to see those people ever again in life
Right.
because you're all congregating in this one place
To go someplace
that
else.
takes you somewhere else.
Right.
And it could be somewhere as close as a hour flight or somewhere that's like a 23 and a half hour flight.
Okay.
It runs the gamut. You could be going anywhere for a number of different reasons.
All right.
Yeah.
So you've addressed the people who are dressed to the nines on
Hmm.
in an airport or on a flight.
Hmm.
What is your opinion on people who are dressed all the way down, like you mentioned, in their fluffy slippers and their pajamas? What is your opinion of those folks?
I'm like, you could at least done something.
Okay.
But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't know where you coming from or where you going because a lot of people, I've done like late night flights and people do, if they're going to have to fly overnight a long place, they'll be super, super comfortable in their carry-on, have their cute outfit. So when they land wherever they're going, they change on the plane. And when they get off the plane, they're ready to hit the town doing whatever.
Oh, really? I haven't seen
Yes,
that. I've
I
never.
have seen that where they, on their carry-on bag, they have their makeup bag, they have their outfit,
Okay.
they come on in sneakers, leggings, and a hoodie. When they step off the plane, it's like they're stepping off the runway because they have their
Wow.
gear in
Okay.
their carry-on to be looking fresh for wherever they're going.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I built all that up to kind of get in, lead us into this topic for this first topic for the culture. So Monique, the comedian, put out a Instagram post, and I'm not. I
That
was
nobody asked her for.
right. She was in a airport or taking a trip somewhere. Noticed that a lot of women, specifically black women, were dressed in their, I guess,
So
their
I saw the picture and it was they had on their bonnets
had bonnets on, had
and
on,
like
yeah, looked like they
the
had some
pajama
pajamas.
pants on, yeah.
Right, right. So according to, like I said, your statement earlier, they were super comfortable, super
Super.
comfortable.
Yes.
Monique noticed that and made mention of it in an Instagram post. And I'm going to paraphrase to where she says, what happened to, you wanting to be respected when you travel, when you leave your house. My grandma and my family told me you got to look decent when you leave the house. And, we're supposed to be, we as in women, this is me talking through her, we are supposed to be queens, and queens don't dress any old kind of way, i.e., wearing their bonnets out of the house and having these comfortable pajamas and their slippers. What's wrong with wanting to be presentable or be respected when you are out and about, specifically in this case, in the airport? So that Instagram, and you'd have to go actually look at her Instagram post to get the full of it, but that was like the specifics of it. When you leave the house, you got to be presentable in order to be respected, in order to be viewed a certain way. So of course she got some flack from that, and then she even kind of did a follow up on that to where she said, well, I'm unapologetic. I will, she listed her a couple of instances. I think she mentioned like Patti LaBelle and another lady that I'm not familiar with, pulled her to the side when she was out of pocket, quote
But she
unquote.
was at a show. So yeah,
Right,
you're
right.
doing a professional setting. So you
And
need to get yourself together.
you're Monique, and somebody mentioned that she is very vulgar. She, in her,
In her comedy,
in a
her stand up.
comedy, very
Yeah.
vulgar, very
I'm gonna do what I want to do, say
flamboyant.
what I want to say. Nobody can't tell me what to do.
Right, right. So, like, but she did mention that when it was her turn to be checked, somebody pulled her to the side. So, according to her, this is what she's doing for black women who leave the house, particularly go to the airports in their bonnets, in their pajamas, in their slippers. She's pulling them to the side. And if you felt some kind of way about me pulling you to the side, then I still love you, but somebody's got to do it, right? So I guess my question to you is all around the world to say, does Monique have a point
No.
to before
But
I
I'll let
got
you finish your question.
to kind of don't want to finish it no more.
Finish it for the
For the
people.
people. All right. So does Monique have a point to where when you leave the house, whether it be going to the airport, going to a job, going to the grocery store, whatever the case may be, how you look, how you present yourself is a indication on how people are going to treat you, or is this respectability politics? And what, for those who don't know what respectability politics is, basically is, like you mentioned earlier, you feel like you have to put out this perfect identity of you, how you speak, how you dress, what you say, the things you're interested in. And I'll just make it personal. Black people specifically feel like we have to talk a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way in order to be respected by the populace. You know, is this, like I said, is Monique, does she have a point? Or is this respectability politics to where, you know, we feel like we have to, you know, be other than what we are in order to be respected, specifically by white folks?
I think it's full on respectability politics for me because of a lot of things. But let's start here. First of all, I am not dressing or getting ready for to be approved by the gaze of any one way. We always talk about, especially when it comes to women and black women, you have autonomy over your body,
Agency, all that good stuff.
agency, all of that stuff. You get to the point where you have, it doesn't matter what you wear. If you're black, you are still going to be likely in some form discriminated against. Let's take it back to the 60s when we had women marching in the streets and protesting, or even when they were just living their regular lives, going to the grocery store. During that time, they did have a certain way of dress. You would see black women, you know, in their dresses, with their pearls, with their purse, with their little heels. Those women were still hosed down by the police. Attack dogs were still set on them in these outfits. Oprah Winfrey, the Oprah Winfrey, billionaire Oprah Winfrey, going into Hermes to buy a purse, and the store clerks not wanting to let her in because they didn't think that she could afford to be in there. Now, Oprah probably wasn't all dressed up, but let's be clear. She was, I'm sure, put together because that's just how Oprah is. Me personally, I won't wear a bonnet or pajamas out of the house because that's me. That's the way I am. That's the way I like to go out into the world. Will I go out in, workout pants and sneakers, hoodies? Of course, because I still want to be comfortable, but I am not going to tell another woman what she should put on her body because she has that autonomous nature and the agency over her body. I'm not going to tap a sister on the shoulder and say, you disrespecting us, you making us all look bad, because I am not representative of all black women, just like they aren't representative of all black women. And trying to hold a single individual accountable for an entire population of people, it doesn't make any sense. And again, there is nothing, if someone dislikes a black person, if someone hates a black person, they can be Gucci down to socks, and it's going to be the same line of thought. And once we get out of the mindset of trying to please the white gaze, then we will be better for it, because we've seen through this last presidency, even through this current administration, how people are responding and acting. There is nothing that I can do as a black person to make someone who dislikes me because of the color of my skin like me because of what I'm wearing.
Right. It's not what you're dressed in. It's not what you're driving. It's not what college you went to. It's not who you marry. Kanye West said it best. He says, and I'll actually looked up the lyrics because it's pretty, look, early Kanye, he was on to something.
He was on it. He was talking his stuff.
Yeah, he says, we shine because they hate us. Floss because they degrade us. We're trying to buy back our 40 acres. And for that paper, look how low we'd stoop. Even if you're in a Benz, you still a nigga in a coupe.
Yep.
So that speaks to the respectability politics aspect because, like I mentioned, there are some people out here who feel like I have to represent for all the black people because I don't want whomever, in this specific case, white people looking at me and saying, oh, look at that black person, look at what they're
That's
dressed
one of
in.
them.
Right. So you feel like you take on these, you wear a certain thing, and like I said, it goes all the way up to where you go to school,
Hmm.
what job you take,
Hmm.
who you marry, who you bring around your family. All of that is a attempt at trying to put
Find a
forth.
chink in the armor.
Right. Well, just to put forth an attempt to say, okay, well, what you're not about to do is treat me differently.
Hmm.
When, like you mentioned, it doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter, where you went to school. It doesn't matter what you wear on an airplane. Queen or no queen. Dressed in heels,
You a
dressed
queen
in.
with your bonnet on, you're a queen with your bonnet off.
Exactly. So, for her to assume that these women think something other than just because of how they dress says something actually to her psyche, in my opinion, because, like you mentioned, it doesn't matter what she wears. There's still somebody standing in line looking at her, whether she be in a bonnet, and there has been an argument in the black community, specifically in the female black community,
Hmm.
where, the question of the bonnet, should it leave the house or should it not, but even
But that
still
same
though.
question used to happen: natural hair versus pressed hair.
But I think but it's a question of, what the use is, right? Is a bonnet for anything other than keeping your hair protected while you sleep, right? That bonnet conversation for us, isn't a, this is how black people are supposed to behave. It's not
Hmm.
a race thing. It's a bonnet's use. Is it for sleep or is it for something else? People
It's for
have,
hair protection.
right. People have tried to, jazz them up. They've tried to put pretty colors on them. They've tried to actually, kind of move or shift them away from a protective covering while you sleep to something else, right? But
Yeah.
my whole point to that is that has nothing to do with respectability politics. That has nothing to do with how people who wear them or do decide to wear them outside of the house, how they want to be treated by anybody else. I'm pretty sure that's the furthest thing from their mind.
Right, because am I expected to be treated differently based on what I wear? And conversely, am I supposed to treat other people a certain way based on what they had? And honestly, I've had to check my own self in instances when I see people wearing things. It's like, oh gosh, that's wow. And then I realize, but I'm not wearing it. I
Right.
wouldn't wear that. But if
Right.
you do, I mean, go with your confidence, girl,
Right.
because that's, again, you have to take, it's not a mirror reflecting back on you. What, say if I'm standing in front, I'm at the airport, there's this woman with her bonnet on, with her, comfy pants on, her slippers on, whatever. She is not a mirror into me.
Right.
She is her own person. I am my own person. That's what she chose to wear. And that's her choice to make when she leaves the house.
Right. Now, no, my personal opinion, I was listening to what she was saying, and I was listening to the people in favor of, in support of, and opposed, and I was trying to come up with how do I feel about this, right? Of course, I'm a man, so I really have no say. Well, I mean, not in a sense of, my opinion of a woman, really doesn't have any sort of, indication on anything. But my thoughts were, my overarching thought was, yeah, I do think it's kind of tacky that women wear bonnet, but people just, so let me make sure I even it out.
Headscarves,
Right,
all of those types of
right, right.
things.
I'm also equally as confused, or I think it's tacky for men to have their pants hanging off their butt, but overall, that's none of my business, right? So that's kind of like the, is it tacky? Yes. Do I care? Does it have any sort of influence? Does it have any sort of
Is that
meaning?
my
Does it?
decision to make?
Right, right. Is that any of my business? Also, no,
Mm-mm.
it's not. You
Also,
know,
no.
so the whole idea that these women that she has surveyed doing whatever they were doing is some sort of reflection, like you mentioned, of reflection of her, a reflection of themselves, or some sort of indication on how they want to be treated. I think is very far off the mark because that's almost like like she said, I'm gonna tap you on the shoulder, you
Don't
know,
tap me, girl.
right? Because that's almost kind of to her, it's like, okay, well, if you're dressed like that, then I get to treat you in
Any
some,
kind of
in
way.
some, and that, not to make that leap, not to make this correlation, but we've always heard of women, you know, uh, dressed up or dressed down, maybe have on something more appealing, something more eye candy, something
Hmm.
tight, something loose, something revealing, and they get whatever they get, addressed, they get approached, they maybe get accosted. And our question is, well, well, what were you wearing? What did you have on to think?
Like that matters.
Right, right. And that's the whole point, so imagine, and this is where I think people can't think outside themselves,
Hmm.
in Monique's case, I'll just put this out there. Imagine if it looks like she's staying in shape. According to her Instagram, she's exercising, she's doing all these cool things, and it looks like she's lost weight from when
Hmm.
we've known her from
The
being on the
Parkers.
Parkers.
Hmm.
She's slimmed down a lot.
Hmm.
I can imagine her being highly upset at somebody.
Tapping her on the
Well,
shoulder.
not just that, right? She exercises and she gets to her whatever her ideal weight is, or her ideal look is. Decided she's gonna go out tonight out on the town, dressed in something revealing, tight, loose, whatever she thinks is sexy. Goes out on a night on the town, dances around, and like you said, some sister taps her on the shoulder and it's like, hey, baby, or in her words, or whatever she,
Sweet baby,
auntie,
sweet
yeah,
love.
yeah, auntie,
Oh,
I'm
that
auntie,
annoys me even more as
and,
well.
right, and I want to talk to you. Do you know how you're dressed? That looks a certain way, and what you need to do is you need to respect yourself a little bit more
And
with
cover up.
and cover up what that I don't.
She
I
would be ready to fight.
She would probably go Super Saiyan. And with her, like you said, like I mentioned earlier, with her vulgar, attitude and her comments and the way she, how she turns it on, I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure, like you said, she'd be ready to tear that place up. And I don't understand why she can't take that same thought and apply it outside of herself onto her perceptions of what these women feel or think or behave based on how they're dressed in an airport.
And let's take it to what she actually wore in the video.
Right.
So she's talking. So maybe before this, I think it was a guy who took the picture of it and
Okay.
posted it
Okay.
and was like, this is what black women do. And I said something stupid, really pissed me off. But my thing is maybe a couple hundred people saw those ladies in the airport, and with his video, of course, it went viral. But she chose, nobody asked her this.
Right.
She's not the auntie she's not some self appointed head auntie that, has the right, as it appears to me from the video, that she should be able to tell people. But first of all, you're talking to millions of your followers. And of course, it's going to spread further out because she likes to do these controversial things. You're sitting in a robe with what appears to be no bra on,
Ugh.
and you have the nerve
To be
to
telling
try and lecture someone
on how
on
they
what to
look.
wear and
Right.
how they present themselves,
Right.
sis,
Right.
somebody needs to tap you on the shoulder
Yeah.
and tell
Very.
you to put on something a little bit more appropriate.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Very, very hypocritical.
Very.
Very, not being able to use perspective. You know, and I think again, like I said, I am puzzled at society as a whole. Their need, men specifically need to
Mind your business.
control women, and women, people, black folks, their so much their interest with what black women wear, how they look. You know, I think it's weird
All
that
of
there's
this could
so
have been
much.
avoided if
Yeah,
everybody would just mind their own business.
right. Because like you said, in the grand scheme of things, them deciding to wear their bonnets, their pajamas on a flight, in the grand scheme of things, that affects
Nobody.
nothing.
Not even them.
Right, right. Again, you can have an opinion. You could say, like I said, my opinion is, yeah, that's kind of tacky. But at the same time, it's like, then I go on about my business. I don't feel as a fellow black
Black.
person, yeah, the blacks, the black community, I feel like I need to go, like she said, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, you know the rules. I need to take your black card because you out here disrespecting us, making us look bad.
And I think we are probably the only community that does this
Right.
on this
Yeah,
grand
absolutely.
scale.
Absolutely.
And it's just like,
Absolutely.
bruh, we already have so
Much to
much
worry about.
crap
Yeah.
that we have to deal with. And now my own people are trying to quote unquote tap me on the shoulder about something that I'm wearing.
Right.
She tapped the wrong person on the shoulder with that mess.
Cause she
It's gonna
ain't,
be a different
cause she
video.
ain't the Parkers. Look, she slimmed down. Somebody might, somebody might give her a run for her money. And then
Mhm.
she be on Instagram talking about, I can't understand why we can't have a conversation without
Why we
it
can't
be.
all get along
What,
and love my sweet babies. Girl, if you don't get out here with that mess, get on
all
somewhere.
right, all right, all right. So I was going to talk about this other story, but I don't want to because I'm already spent.
And yeah,
Yeah. All
because
right.
that annoyed me even more.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's going to be it for the culture. I don't have anything particular for the hookup. Like I said, it's been a short weekend, and I ain't been. I don't have anything necessarily. The hookup, anything you talk about. Father's Day, I guess, is coming up, so make sure you start looking for those Father's Day.
Already have
Okay, all
behind.
right, all right. So that's my hookup for this week. Make sure you get something nice for the father in your life. Make sure you let them know they appreciate it because I think Father's Day is coming up in another week or so. So,
No, it's actually the 20th.
oh wow,
It's
so
really late.
wow, okay, all
And I
right,
won't even be in the country. So me and my brother are having to do Father's Day
early,
early
okay,
with our dad.
all right, yeah. So whatever the situation is, make sure you do something special for your father for this Father's Day, and I
Show him
think
a little
that's
love.
yeah, and I think that's going to end the show this week. Thank you to everybody who's been listening so far. Thank you to our supporters. Thank you to everybody. If you do want to show us some love, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can download, rate, and review the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, and we're on Spotify. If you want to reach out to us on social media, you can do so via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're at SnobOScast. You can watch us on YouTube. We post every Friday on YouTube, the actual full show. So you can find us at SnobOScast. And of course, be sure to do all the YouTubes, like, subscribe, follow the channel, subscribe, all that good stuff. Definitely, if you want to leave us a comment, you want to reply, you want to give us some ideas, give us some feedback, definitely you can do that. You can do that via the web or at snoboscast.com, or you can shoot us an email, snoboscast@gmail.com. If you want to take it even further and show us the support, you can join our Patreon for as little as $5 a month. You can get access to our pre-show, content that we don't talk about on the regular show. You get access to the show early. So all of these references to things that we say at the time, it'll actually be in real time versus getting it 2 days later. And you get access to our chat community, and you can find us on Patreon if you go to patreon.com/SnobOScast. Finally, if you want to give us a love offering, a one-time donation, tell us we're doing a good job, keep up the good work. Any little bit counts, so we'll definitely take that. But you can do it via PayPal. If you go to paypal.me/snobos, you can give us a love offering that way. So other than that, I think that is it for this week. So other than that, we are out. Peace.
Bye.